Apparently 25,000 people have now signed this new petition over the past 72 hours, which calls for SAS exhibits at the War Memorial to remain, and also those meritorious unit citations for those to remain too. They're going to be stripped for some 3,000 of our most elite service personnel. Now, following this Brereton inquiry and the recommendations, former ADF Chief Chris Barry has actually called for some of these exhibits at the War Memorial to be temporarily stood down. It's led to outrage amongst former and current members of the ADF, and notably Heston Russell, a former Special Forces commander, I should say. He's going to be at the War Memorial this morning, along with fellow veterans calling for these exhibits to be left alone. The Prime Minister has just been on radio in Brisbane, 4BC. He's made the point that we need to make sure we're still enormously proud of our ADF personnel.
What we're talking about here is a small number, a very big defence force.
Yes.
And everyone who pulls on a uniform has earned and deserved our respect. And I wouldn't want any Defence Force member, serving men or women or veterans, to feel that anyone is looking at them differently. I'm certainly not. I know you and your listeners would not be. We're incredibly proud of them.
Now, Tom, in that interview, Scott Morrison made it very clear that the government doesn't know who these ADF personnel are that are alleged to have committed these war crimes. The ADF, though, believes they do, and they began issuing show cause notices. Apparently, they've gone out to 10 current members of our elite units. In some instances, they've been told that they failed to uphold the values. In a statement from the Defence Force, I can read you, it says, Defence can confirm it has initiated administrative action against a number of serving ADF personnel in accordance with legislation and defence policy. Each matter and individual circumstance will be considered in a case-by-case basis. It is essential due process is followed here. Now, Peter Dutton, the Home Affairs Minister, has also been on breakfast television this morning. He says it's up to the ADF if they fire or sack these people.
Well, obviously the Chief of Defence makes decisions about employment arrangements within Defence, Carl, so he'll look at the individual circumstances or the facts that he has before him, and there'll be Defence personnel who are stood down or investigated on a regular basis. It's obviously a massive workforce, and their standards are no different to police officers or other public service employees. So there's a high standard that is expected, and the Chief of the Defence Force, Angus Campbell, will make those decisions on a daily basis, but he's made it obviously in relation to some of these officers, and there'll be a due process to go through, but that's a decision that he's made.
Now, of course, Tom, Justice Brereton has found that 19 past or present members of the ADF have been responsible, or they believe are responsible, for the murder of 39 Afghanis. We'll have more on this story live from the War Memorial throughout the morning. Tom?